Let's talk about recovery. It's been a while. Just wanted to talk about maybe the idea of recovery and how that works. I started a program called Celebrate Recovery, and I'm following up on last week we finished our step study. It's 4 books, at least the first four books. There is a continuing the journey. There's a second half, but our church does not, our program doesn't do that. They only do the first 4. So I just finished those. So I worked the 12 steps. It took about 9 months. And I learned a lot about myself. Most recovery programs are about 6 to 8 weeks. They're very expensive. This one was donation based. It's based on what you can give and what you see fit, and it's self-sustaining. But I found it to be the most effective because it required a lot of work, and you work through all the steps with a sponsor, an accountability partner, and you really examine a lot of things where in a 6 to 8 week program it would probably take you such a short time, but you haven't really worked through a lot of all the steps. And in this one, it took a long time. It took us 9 months, and we were able to get through it. And because of the length of it, you're able to deal with things a lot slower and with a lot more thought, and with the support of people in your group. It's not easy, especially when you get to the point of inventory. And this isn't just for addiction issues. This is for what they say hurts, habits, and hang-ups. And you can be dealing with anything from addiction all the way to past childhood trauma, to traumatic events, marriages, whatever happens. Some people deal with sexual integrity issues and pornography. Anyway, mine was had stemmed from childhood trauma and complex PTSD, which I'd never unpacked before this, and then also symptoms of addiction, of using marijuana excessively to kind of basically mimic what, cover up the pain that I had been feeling and covering up all these years with that. So dealing with it as slowly as we did. And I have to admit, when I first started the step study, I still hadn't stopped using pot totally. I was trying to, but within the first 2 weeks of the step study, I said, hey, I got to do this if I'm going to be successful and I'm going to heal. So not long ago, I picked up my 6-month chip at the Celebrate Recovery program that I'm in at the local church. And I feel great. The biggest takeaway from the program for me was not necessarily coming back whole, or what I feel is whole. I think I'll always have that hole within my heart and so forth. But yeah, it's my biggest takeaway is that instead of going for days, weeks, months, and even years of destructive patterns, mostly hating myself and hating who I was, and then seeking escape and relief from that by using a lot of weed. Now when I recognize the thought patterns and the destructive thought processes and stinking thinking that goes through my mind, and let's face it, the fight or flight symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder, I recognize it within a couple hours, at most a couple days, you know, and I'm able to pick up on those patterns and say, hey, look, what's going on here? I identify the emotions. What are those emotions stemming from? And then think back on it, and whether, you know, can I assess this? Is this a real thing, or is this something I'm just beating up on myself about? You know, is it valid? Is it invalid? Is this just part of my past trauma history that, you know, that I'm picking up on old patterns and so forth? Yeah, so that was my biggest takeaway. And of all the programs I've ever done, I did do an IOP at a very expensive center probably about a year and a half ago. And, you know, it was good, but, you know, I had one crisis come through. I had a neck injury that happened about 6 months after, and it really kind of threw me into a loop, and then right back into old patterns and stuff. And the problem was, it was expensive. It was a well-renowned IOP program, but it wasn't long enough. And I didn't have the discipline, nor the tools, or the self-confidence to stick with it, nor did I have a sponsor to really, somebody I felt comfortable with, that really I felt had my back. So that's why I recommend Celebrate Recovery. It's been really a game changer for me. And like I said, I'm not ready to write a novel or a memoir about my life and have some big success story, but my big success and takeaway is that, hey, I don't fall back into those long-term patterns anymore. So anyway, if you're struggling and you need relief and you want to try this, look up Celebrate Recovery on the internet. Find one that's local in your area. I attend the one in Tempe, Arizona. So good luck and God bless.